Tired of going down the black hole of grant research only to become dizzy and confused? Don't know where or how to start? Looking to get into the grant profession? Need answers. What's true? And what's myth? How can I find a grant writer? Well, I'm glad you asked. Lady Grant Scribes started our podcast to be able to answer all your questions. To be your personal teachers and guides on what to do and how to do. We're going to give you all the secrets. That's right, all of the grant writers' secrets. We're taking you behind the veil. The Lady Grant Scribes are here at your service. Hey guys, you're tuned in with Lady Grant Scribes for episode 5. Yes, we just like moving on down the road. Yes, just easing on down the road, guys, with these episodes, and we're always excited to bring them to you. And today's episode is going to be about grant readiness and assessment. So, guys, you want to stay locked in and tuned in to us because we're about to make sure you understand the tools you need to be grant ready. A lot of organizations feel that they're ready, but we're going to see, and this is a great checklist, guys, for you to check to see if you're ready for grant readiness to get those grants, because you can be in the game for over 20 years and still have some of these things that you need to do before you start applying for grants. So we just going to dive on in. It's going to be sweet, simple, and short, but it's going to be impactful, guys.
Absolutely. You know, that's kind of that's one of my things when it's like one of those, oh, I know it, but it's like, do you really? But if you don't, we're here to help. So starting off with the grant readiness assessment, the documentation below is typically requested by foundations to meet their professional guidelines. Proposal guidelines. Keep the following paperwork organized and up to date is vital when pursuing grant funding. And that is so true, because if you come with funding today, but your documents are 5 years old, that could be a problem down the line. So starting with your organizational background and tax documents, you do need representation by a 501c3 or a not-for-profit organization. This is the key to getting funded. Now, there are grants out there that doesn't require a 501c3, but the majority of grants do for a nonprofit. So this is why this letter, this determination letter, this piece of paper is vital, because it needs to be known that you're a nonprofit, that you can prove that you're a nonprofit, and why you need to be funded. Does your organization have the following documents? The important 501c3 letter of determination from the IRS that will be mailed to you, your articles of incorporation, your mission statement, your vision statement, and those are different, and your programs and services. Do they align with your mission? And your mission is more like your elevator pitch, like something to say, something short and sweet. Like, let's take McDonald's, for example. I believe their logo or their catchphrase is still "I'm living it." They're all the golden arches, but like from their commercial. If they do one or the other, if they do the ba da ba ba ba, or if you see that "I'm loving it," you know that's McDonald's, whether they put the golden arches or not. So that's kind of what your mission statement needs to be. They should, in like 10 words, you should be able to describe what you're doing in your organization. So, okay, moving on.
No, that's true. You're definitely supposed to be able to say what you're doing in your organization. Your mission keeps you focused, and the vision is like future. So yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, it's like your mission is like now and your vision is like for the future, like what you will do to make sure that you are a sustainable organization. But moving on, your current program and project descriptions, financial information. So with this is it needs to be a brand new or up to date statement about not a statement, but a document of explaining like your programs and things that you do in your organization. So like I said earlier, if it's 5 years old, don't put that timestamp on there, and don't take the old date off and put the new date on, because anything could have happened in 5 years for change. So go through it. If it's been old, make sure it's current, make sure it's up to date. And this is so like the financial information would go along the lines of your budget sheet. How are you spending your funds? How are funds coming into you? Things like that. So when you have the most current up-to-date information, it's a lot easier for when tax time comes, so you don't get audited. And it's also easy for the funder to see when you are asking for grants. Oh, okay, well, they know how to manage their money, so we can support them with funds, or we supported them with funds in the past and they've proven that they can handle it. So, we're going to support them again this year and years to come. Your sources of fundings, that would be a list of grants, like I kind of like a precursor to here, just mention like your grants, how many grant awards that you won, basically, like not how many grants you filled out, because that could be a large number, but the awards you actually won for funding purposes. Also, fundraising. How are you raising funds? Are you out there for donations, or do you have a bake sale? Like, what are you doing to raise funds for your organization or your particular program or project? And also percentage of board members, or percentage 5 of board giving financially. So your board also has to give as well.
Yeah, that's a lot of misconception with a lot of people, that your board shouldn't be giving. And sometimes when you're starting off, you may play both hats, the director, executive director in the nonprofit, as well as the board chair or board member, one of the board members. But most board members are either from like 3 to no more than 12 members. And so guys, at least 5 of those members need to step up giving financially. Yeah, so what percentage is that? What percentages are they giving based on their income or expertise to help revenue to push the organization? That's why they sit on the board. They're saying, hey, I want to govern you and be your arms and push this vision and this mission, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to make sure that the executive director, the secretary, the treasurer is upholding their end of the bargain by making sure that this organization don't die and flourish. So
So next point, and that was great. I'm glad you were able to elaborate on that. But yeah, your board should be given to you. It's like these are people in your corner, so they should be donating as well. They should be giving as well. So next I have is audited financial statements by an accountant. So this is what I was also mentioning earlier about having the documentation or like a budget list, something for a way that you are keeping track of your funding, whether that's you out of pocket as your organization spending money for the budget, you getting grant funds, spending the grant fund money, that needs to be documented. It's best to, if you do have receipts, to keep those receipts. Put it on the budget sheet, but still keep those receipts. So at the end of the fiscal year, whenever it's time to ask for another grant, that's the first thing they're going to ask you for, and you're prepared for that. And also, we want you to get audited in a good way. We want for tax season, we want the IRS to say, okay, good, you're good, instead of, oh, we got to get you now. We got to take you to jail. So we really want to keep you guys out of trouble. That's why I kind of specify the difference between the two. Okay, so end of the year financial statement. That's what I was talking about just now. So it could be at the end of the year or December, or it could be whatever the funder's fiscal year is. And I want to say that's in April, but I'm not sure. But whenever they deem the end of the year, you want to make sure you have all your ducks lined in a row with the finances, with the budgeting, with the grant, how you spend it, and everything else. And also your, for a nonprofit, your IRS 990 tax return. This is very important because it's kind of like that for, and you need it for at least 2 years, for the past 2 years at least. And this also acts as a budget list, but for the funder. Because now when they take a look at your 990, they can see, because it's going to show how you give, how you receive, how money is distributed, how it's dispersed. They're not going to necessarily see who you donated to or donated to you. That information is on there, but they don't count that out. But they mostly want to look at how are you spending the funds? What are you contributing to getting funds? How are you dispersing that? So that's, it's easy to kind of the reason why it's 2 consecutive years, it's easy to kind of fudge numbers and say, oh, I gave $1 billion, but can you do that next year, for the next year? Can you give even more than that next year, or can you receive more than that for the next year? Because each year you're supposed to be getting more and giving more, not stagnate.
And then it's also a way for you guys, for the IRS to know if you're in trouble with any grant, right? As you may not did what you said that you was going to do with the funds in the beginning. And so if it's a 2-year grant, why are you only getting it for 1 year? What happened in the second year? So that's another way too to track that. And just to see consistency. It's just like if you had a regular business with your return, or you're going to apply for a home, they at least want to see 2 tax returns, so it's the same thing, guys.
Okay, wrapping it up. Operation budget. This is another one. How much are you for your operational costs, or for your building, rent for your building, or if you wanted to pay your volunteer staff, if you wanted to get them on paid staff, how much of a budget do you need, and how well did you spend that after the first year? Whether that's an entire year, like I mentioned before, or their fiscal year, whatever they deem 1 year. How well did you spend that? How well did you budget that? And also your annual report. Your annual report is also going to tell them, it's going to let them know what you spend and how you spent it. Is also going to determine if you are eligible for them to give you funds for the next year. Because you may have, for example, started off with, let's just say $5,000 that they gave you out of a $10,000 grant. Okay, but now for the next year, they may go ahead and give you $10,000 or maybe $8,000. So they want to gauge and see, and I'm like that as well. If I give you money and you manage it well, I'm going to give you more money. If I'm giving you money and you just squander it and you don't do what you said with it, I'm gonna be on the reserve. Like, I don't know if I should. So think of it like that. Think of it like that in those terms. Personally, if that happened to you, how would you feel? And you have your answer.
Right, exactly. So annual reports, guys, is like your annual reports. It's just that to see ins and outs of what's being done in the organization. And like each department should have their annual reports because they may submit it to you. Hey, our department over here, for the children events, we need $3,000. And so the executive directors, the treasurers say it, okay, and the board okay it. And then you come back and say, well, we really didn't have enough. And so now your budget is off, or you're requesting, or you overspend and you set a set amount. So that's why it's always good to do annual and checks and balances, to make sure that everybody's on the same page throughout the organization. So we're going to talk about program information.
Hey.
Detailed programs, because this is where people just drop the ball. They have their programs, but guys, just as you have operational budgets, you need budgets for each program, because then you'll know, like, oh, next year we grew and we needed less, or because we grew in numbers we need more funding or money to do these programs and projects. So you want a budget for that, guys. Detailed program project descriptions. You want to be specific in what you're doing. What target population? Because you just think when you do your 501c3 or your organization to be a nonprofit, you think, oh, this is the target audience. But each project may target something totally different. So you want to know, like, hey, we're going to feed the children here, or we're going to do choir. So you may target kids who suffering with depression, isolation, with getting them out their shell by exposing them to music and choir. So that's the type of target population, young and old. But as far as feeding kids, then you're just doing kids, not adults. And then what age group is that? So that's two different programs, may have some similarities in some of the target population, but you want to be specific. The numbers that you serve, you want to do ins and out, either through Salesforce or questionnaires. All of those things are measures of outcomes. Like we served 30 kids today. They was excited. Now these kids can go home and not be hungry, or during lunchtime, they're not starving. And why? Like, in this area, people, go to sleep without having food for dinner or for lunch, and that you was able to serve those 30 people in the community, or those kids, so that the outcome was they didn't go home hungry. So you want documents that are giving you positive feedback on what each program is doing, whether that be an intake form, questionnaire, also application into your programs, so you know how many families, demographics that you are servicing, and a evaluation at the end to see if it's effective or not. And because they may say, can you change this up? So some may be effective and some may not. So when you staff qualifications, when you're building a staff, guys, for your programs, whether it be volunteers, it's just like any employee type of staff, guys. They have to go through a handbook of acknowledgement, know their duties, their roles, conduct, conflicts. All of those things is the same thing goes for in a nonprofit organization just as well. Remember, it's a nonprofit organization, but it's just like a regular business, guys. You can get funds and make money in your nonprofit organization to continue the mission and the vision, just like a profitable business. But you are not pocketing that money. That money is going back to make an impact on your vision and mission statement and the people that you are servicing. So program budgets required if the grant application if the grant application is requesting funding for a program or a project. So that's why, guys, like earlier I said, you're going to need that budget for each project because it's vital. How are they going to know if it's reachable, or like, oh, they service these many kids and they only have this as a budget? Yes, let me increase it because we want to see this turnaround, especially those who are philanthropists and they give their money to a set cause. Maybe be cancer research or sickle cell anemia, or your eyes are crossing, they want to see that it's uncrossed. Whatever they want to give their money to, these are people who definitely want to see your budget and your outcomes so they can help you reach those goals.
Mm.
So you have cost estimate, vendors information, equipment purchase. Like when you do these events, if whether you're going to put on a festival, get community involved, let them know you're out there. It costs, guys, to do lights, bouncy houses, all those great things, food. So you need to estimate all those things that it costs for your vendors. The board of directors roster, which is their information. So you want to know that support, because that serves as support, guys, when they're looking like who supports your mission. If you don't got your board supporting, and make sure they do a letter of support too as well, guys. And we about to talk about that other. So letters of support from individuals like donors, board of directors, partners, or partnering organizations. That is vital. You know, you want to show grant funders that you have people supporting the mission, they down for the cause, that they like your secret sauce, what you're doing in the community, keeping it vibing. They want to know, like, how many people are supporting you. You know, you don't want to be on island on by yourself. You want other organizations to say, hey, we support you. We love what you're doing. And especially the people that's around you, working around you. They're at your organization, so hopefully they love what they do and want to do a letter of support.
And I would say that also goes into your other documents, like whenever you are writing a grant, that goes into your other or miscellaneous documents, because they are the funder wants to know who is supporting you, who are you partner with. And you know, like we said in previous podcasts, if you are partnered, you're more likely to get even more funding because you are in a partnership or in a group.
Yep. Because they see that's that credibility to hold you accountable as more people service, and then they also think that they don't have to give you as much because all of you are going to split to do what you have to do. So track records or recent results and accomplishments. So that's important. When you have a track record and support and you consistent, and when you do get audited by grant funders and that you actually did what you said you're going to do, they love you. They want to give you more funding and continue to support you on a continual basis. Recent media, including news articles, guys, any exposure that your organization have gotten, you want to be sure that you are documenting that, and it looks great. It's like your PR press for you, or if you're in the music industry, your EPK, where it tells about every performance, everything you've done, guys, and that's a part of that performance or track record. Policies and procedures. We must have policies and procedure handbook. It has to. So everybody can hold themselves accountable in the organization. The board is supposed to always check the executive director, the president, or treasurer, or secretary, or if you have a board chair, they got to check one another to make sure it's functioning and a dual process. So, guys, this is just this one is a short podcast, but we definitely wanted to make sure, guys, that you understand what is needed to be grant ready. And after you guys have gone through all of this, did the checklist, did the groundwork to see if you actually ready, now you can call that grant researcher and say, a grant writer, and say, let's do the research. Let's do the funding strategy to do research and go after some grants and then actually write them. So, all right, guys, I hope this blessed you, that you stay informed And if you guys want, let us know if you want this grant ready assessment. You can find it on my website at Grants by Lexi. And you're gonna also be able to get this if you hit us up on our social media platform on Twitter, or if you hit us up on Instagram, we will send this grant ready assessment over to you. So, or you can go to my website, grantbylexi.now.site. But I prefer, guys, that you just go ahead and request it from us and say, hey, I love the show. Giving a shout out to Brittney, and I'll give it to Brittney. She'll probably add it on her own website as well.
I totally will. I will definitely do that.
Give them your website.
Yeah, it's the acronym for Write the Vision Plainly. So it's WTVPLLC.now.site.
Yeah, so guys, you can get it there, but I think everybody should have this in their arsenal, this tool, so you guys won't be tooling your thumbs or jumping the gun too soon with the researcher, and you don't have all this together and your chances are less because you wasn't prepared. So we want you to win those grants, and remember, grants are competitive, so set yourself up for success, not failure, guys. So anything else you want to say, Brittney?
I was just gonna give them, our socials.
Our our IDs.
Fine. Yeah, so they can contact us. Okay. Yes. So for Twitters, we are we are at Lady Scribes. On Instagram, we are at Lady Grant Scribes Podcast. On Facebook, we are Lexi Britt, but our nickname is Lady Grant Scribes Podcast. Our email address, if you have any questions, you have a topic or suggestion for us, email us at ladygrantscribes@gmail.com.
Yep.
Let's be connected. We want to make you a part of our networks. We want to be a part of your networks. We're the ones that if your inner circle rejects you in a way, we got your back. Like, we're going to pump you up and we're going to be like, oh, they said that was a dumb idea. Well, let me tell you how it's a smart idea. You're on our team now.
Correct. Guys, and we just out here to equip you with the necessary skills that you need to know to be winning in these streets, especially if you're a nonprofit organization, because the world's going to need you. And as we see a turn coming for our economy, we don't know what's going to happen in October, and a lot of people is going to rely on a lot of nonprofit organizations. So we're here to support you guys. And guys, if you want to learn how to put a prospectus together, how to do a letter of inquiry, or to get that letter that we said of support, we'll definitely be able to, you can book a call with either one of us, and we'll be gladly to go over that information with you and book you for our upcoming webinar. So stay tuned. We got a lot coming from you. So until next time, I'm signing off, your girl Lexi by Grants by Lexi. Lady Grant Scribes, you've been scribed. You've been scribed by Lady Grant Scribes.
Tune in every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.